day, friends. Welcome to Planet XSF, Episode 10. You must be this tall to ride. As is traditional, let's say hello to my sidekick, Robot Bob. Say hello, Robot Bob.
Fight the oppressor, freedom for all.
Well said, my friend. Well said. Today, we will attempt to look at invisibility, something most of us have dreamed of and that many have made into compelling narratives both in film and television. The H.G. Wells novel The Invisible Man is probably the best known example of the invisibility trope, but there are many other examples. The concept of invisibility has been a feature of fiction since ancient times, with references to various methods of becoming invisible being described by various sources, including Plato. Greek myths describe a cap of invisibility, a helmet known as the Tarnhelm was mentioned in Norse myth, and Welsh texts describe a cloak that serves the same purpose. In modern myths, like superhero comics, invisibility as a significant superpower is best known through Sue Storm of the Fantastic Four. She's probably the best known and most famous at the moment. In pure literary terms, H.G. Wells was one of many writing about Invisible Men around the time of the publication of his novel, with such titles as The Invisible Gentleman by James Dalton appearing in 1833, Edward Page Mitchell's The Crystal Man story in January 1881, and C.H. Hinton's Stella in 1895. H.G. Wells' classic The Invisible Man was published in 1897, and that novel has outlasted all of his contemporaries' works on the topic. And just a note before we go any further. Since the topic of invisibility has been so popular over the years, I'm limiting this video to discussing live action visual media like movies and TV, and instances where invisibility is integral to the plot, not as one of a list of potential powers an individual may have or encounter. Also, no animation. My channel, my rules. The list may not be exhaustive, and I've likely overlooked a lot, particularly in the area of foreign films. If you know of any I've missed, please feel free to share names and links in the comments section below. We're going to look at movies and TV separately, and in mostly chronological order just for clarity. Or maybe I should say transparency. Still, should be a fun topic. And without further delay, let's get started.
The Big Screen, 1900.
Sherlock Holmes Baffled. This is the earliest known film to feature Arthur Conan Doyle's character, although this version differs from most that follow. A burglar turns invisible while robbing Sherlock Holmes, with Holmes unable to catch the thief. Hence, he is baffled.
1908.
Invisible Fluid by the Biograph Company. A prankster uses a spray bottle of a mysterious liquid to turn people invisible for about 10 minutes. He causes all sorts of mayhem until he is forced to use the fluid on himself to escape police. Interestingly, the film stars D.W. Griffith as a mailman seated at the desk at the beginning of the film, and Max Sennett as a mover.
1933.
The Invisible Man, directed by the incomparable James Whale, the first major film adaptation starring Claude Rains. This set the template for all films about invisibility in cinema. This was the first in a series of Invisible Man films that lasted until 1944. The character of the Invisible Man has become a well-known and integral part of the Universal Monsters genre.
1940.
The Invisible Man Returns, directed by Joe May. A sequel featuring Vincent Price as the Invisible Man, who is injected with an invisibility serum by the brother of the original mad scientist Griffin, in an effort to clear himself of a murder. His efforts are complicated by the fact that the serum is causing him to be increasingly mentally unstable. The Invisible Woman, directed by A. Edward Sutherland. A comedy take on the theme. Department store model Kitty Carroll is exposed to the rays of an invisibility machine and seeks revenge on a boss who fired her.
Anytime you hear of a piano with legs like mine, Sonny, run, do not walk to your nearest music store.
1942.
Invisible Agent, directed by Edwin L. Marin. This gives it an espionage twist with invisibility used against Nazi forces by Raymond Griffin, a young relative of the inventor of the invisibility serum.
1944.
The Invisible Man's Revenge. A revenge-driven narrative. Escaped fugitive Robert Griffin takes advantage of being injected with the invisibility serum to take revenge on a family he believes had wronged him.
1949.
The Invisible Man Appears, from Daiei Studios, in which a gang of thieves use an invisibility formula to steal a priceless necklace. I wonder if anyone noticed the basic contradiction of the title. It was followed by The Invisible Man versus the Human Fly in 1957.
1951.
Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man, a comedy crossover and the last of the Universal Invisible Man films. Bud and Lou meet a boxer who is wanted for the murder of his manager and who enlists a doctor and his new invisibility formula to help clear his name. It should be noted that Abbott and Costello met the Invisible Man very briefly at the end of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein in 1948.
Now that we've seen the last of Dracula, the Wolfman and the monster, there's nobody to frighten us anymore.
Oh, that's too bad. I was hoping to get in on the excitement.
Who said that?
Allow me to introduce myself. I'm the Invisible Man.
1954.
The Invisible Avenger from Toho Studios, directed by Matayoshi Oda, and special effects by the legendary Eiji Tsuburaya. A man who is made invisible is the last survivor of an experiment conducted during the war. The Invisible Man teams up with a detective to save a young singer and thwart the efforts of a gang who are terrorizing Tokyo.
1957.
The Invisible Boy. The only exception to the invisibility as main plot device rule I'll make in this video. I do so only because an evil supercomputer who renders the titular boy invisible has a robot henchman played by Robbie the Robot, a relative of our friend Robot Bob. Fans claim this is the same robot that appeared in Forbidden Planet that has been somehow thrown back in time, making it a sequel of sorts, but the studio has never formally declared this to be the case, despite some dialogue that could be interpreted to confirm this assertion.
1960.
The Amazing Transparent Man from 1960, in which an escaped safecracker is recruited to assist a disgraced former army major in his plot to assemble an invisible army to take over the world, I guess?
1970.
Mr. Super Invisible, an Italian production starring Dean Jones. Released in the United States by K-Tel. Yes, that K-Tel. No confirmation if the Invisible Man uses a pocket fisherman, record selector, or super slider snow skates in this film.
1972.
Disney's Now You See Him, Now You Don't, starring Kurt Russell. Second in the film series starring Russell as Dexter Riley, Medfield College science enthusiast, who in this film invents a spray that turns things invisible. This draws the attention of criminals led by our old friend Cesar Romero.
1983.
The Man Who Wasn't There, a 3D comedy starring Steve Guttenberg, and that's about all you need to know about that.
1987.
Mr. India from India. A scientist uses a device to become invisible and fight crime. They're singing. A lot of singing. And dancing. Der Unsichtbare. The Invisible. A West German comedy film about a man who inherits a magic cap that makes people invisible. Starring pop star Nena of 99 Luftballons fame in a non-singing role.
1992.
Memoirs of an Invisible Man, directed by John Carpenter. Chevy Chase stars in a modern take on the theme in a film directed by John Carpenter, based loosely on a novel of the same name. Of this film, John Carpenter said in 2023, "It gave me a chance to make a quasi-serious movie, but Chevy Chase, Sam Neill, who I love and had a long-time friendship with, and Warner Brothers, I worked for them, and it was pleasant." No, it wasn't pleasant at all. I'm lying to you. It was a horror show. I really wanted to quit the business after that movie. God, I don't want to talk about why, but let's just say there were personalities on that film. He shall not be named who needs to be killed. No, that's terrible. He needs to be set on fire. No. Anyway, it's all fine. I survived it.
1996.
Invisible Mom. Comedy. Probably exactly what it says on the tin, followed by a sequel in 1999.
2000.
Hollow Man, directed by Paul Verhoeven. A scientist becomes invisible, leading to psychological deterioration and murderous horror, as it often does. Also known as 6 Degrees of Naked Invisible Lunatic. I saw this one in the theater back in the day, and it was a pretty effective little thriller with neat special effects. Led to a sequel in 2006.
2015.
Disney Channel original Invisible Sister. So, this movie exists.
2020.
The Invisible Man, directed by Leigh Whannell. Modern psychological horror starring Elizabeth Moss. An abusive and obsessive ex-boyfriend stalks a woman and frames her for murder, using a high-tech suit that renders him invisible.
The Small Screen. 1958.
The Invisible Man. Also known as H.G. Wells' The Invisible Man. A British series that explored the concept in episodic format. Dr. Peter Brady is a scientist whose attempts to turn a guinea pig invisible backfire and render him totally and permanently invisible. He negotiates with the UK government to provide services in exchange for continued use of his lab.
1975.
The Invisible Man. Dr. Daniel Weston, a scientist, turns himself invisible and becomes a secret agent for the Clay Corporation. The show explores the challenges and dangers of permanent invisibility. Also stars Craig Stevens, best known as Private Eye, Peter Gunn.
1976.
Gemini Man. Sam Casey, a secret agent, gains the ability to become invisible for short periods using a special watch. The show blends espionage with science fiction and a healthy smattering of wide-leg denim. Eventually led to a great episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000.
2000.
The Invisible Man. Darian Fox, a thief, is implanted with a quicksilver gland that allows him to become invisible, but at a heavy psychological cost. This series ran for 2 seasons and is known for its unique take on the invisibility trope. So, in terms of themes, early films focused on the dangers and moral dilemmas of invisibility. In the mid century, it was often used for comedy, espionage, and adventure. In the modern era, it explores psychological horror, social critique, and superhero narratives. Invisibility feeds our imagination in ways that many other powers and abilities do not. It shows our vulnerabilities and provides us with unique paths to power and psychological domination. It has been and will continue to be the source of inspiration for artists in all media for a long time to come. Thanks for joining me. Please like and subscribe to keep these videos coming. Thanks to those interested enough to get me to 10 videos. Here's to the next 10 and beyond. I'm Dave. Remain awesome until further notice. And I'll see you next time. In literary terms, H.G. Wells was one of the many writers in pure... Stop. Pause. Thank you.